Welcome back to Star Trek Resurgence. I just saved the ship and the crew.
All departments
Now
reporting
everybody
full
loves
mission
me.
readiness.
Except the captain. You don't like me.
We've got our full complement on board.
This is my favorite moment, right now.
The start of a new
'Cause
mission
he
is
sucks.
always full of possibility.
The Orion Syndicate could sell it as a drug.
Don't let the Admiralty hear you say that.
Captain on the bridge.
Sit. Sit, everyone. You all know, I'm not big on speeches. We're embarking on the first mission since our refit. Let's make it a good one. Disengage docking clamps.
Wait, didn't one just like explode? Did we fix it already?
Docking clamps released.
Thrusters ahead, Mr. Handar.
How did we fix it already? It was like 5 seconds ago.
That should do it. Set a course for the Hotari system. Prepare to go to warp 8.
Aye, Captain.
You know what? You take this one.
Me? Helm. Make way.
Ow. I feel like that acceleration would hurt.
Make way.
It's a sailing term.
I know that.
Easy. Thank you. I'm fine. Really,
You don't look so good.
Huh?
I have to get to sickbay.
Go.
Commander, help me get her inside.
Is this what that other guy was talking about?
Well, that was quite a scare. A few minutes more and it would have been one of the shortest tenures on record for a first officer.
Is that the engineer that was out on the hull?
That storm did a real number on her, but she'll live. Just needs rest. You should worry about yourself. Your duridium levels got dangerously low and destabilized your cell structure.
This is definitely one of the more memorable first days I can think of.
My name is Dr. Aram Duval, Chief Medical Officer. To be honest, I've never met a Kobliad before. You're...
Rare. I know.
I was going to say special. Your people's numbers have dwindled, despite the Federation's efforts to find a more readily available alternative to the duridium you need to survive. Yet you joined Starfleet, and managed to thrive. I imagine the responsibility must be overwhelming. Maybe even a burden at times.
It does make me unique, but it's not a burden at all. I'm honored to be Kobliad, to represent my people.
As you should be. And don't worry, I won't treat you like a science experiment. I just do the science and leave the experiments to Solano.
You don't agree with his methods?
I don't agree with his definition of acceptable risks. Not when the lives of your crew are at stake. My professional opinion is that the accident took a toll. More than he's willing to admit. He's overstressed, operating in the pressure cooker of his own mind. Which is never a good headspace when the lives of your crew are at stake. What concerns me is that now he's even further away from the thing he's been chasing his entire career. Breakthrough discovery. The major innovation. Something he can put his name on.
I hear you. But that's my job, isn't it? To make sure that doesn't happen. And we don't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Which is exactly why I'm so glad you're here. We need you now more than ever. And I have to give you credit for what happened on the bridge. It took guts to defy a direct order.
Huh. I guess word travels fast around here.
It's a small ship. And everyone's curious about the new XO. Fortunately, your cell structure's almost completely stabilized. And I'll spare us both the lecture, but I do feel it's my responsibility to remind you, without regular infusions of Duridium, you will not live. It's as simple as that.
Understood.
Then, my work here is done.
Lieutenant Bedrosian.
I came to see if you were okay. We were all pretty worried on the bridge. No one knew what was happening.
I'm feeling much better. Thank you. It's just part of who I am.
You don't have to explain to me. I understand. I'm just glad you're okay. You trusted me earlier with the shields, and I appreciated that. I want you to know that I have your back.
Thank you.
Fangirling.
Complete the diagnostic sequence, and this shuttle will be cleared for service.
Yes, sir.
Storm in the Hotari region will interfere with our transporters, so we need all available shuttlecraft in working order.
Oh, I'm supposed to click this.
Excuse me, Commander Sherlock.
Petty Officer Maris, I will leave you to your work.
I stopped by sickbay and saw Millie. I figured you'd want to know.
Did the doc get her fixed up?
She's stable. But there's something about the storm's radiation that's making it hard to heal the energy burns.
That doesn't sound good.
She's toughing it out. Dr. Duval said she'll be back on duty soon, though.
Come on. I have to run the final diagnostic.
I can't stay long. I've got a long to-do list before we get to Hotari, and things are piling on faster than I can check them off. We're making all our last-minute checks and security, too.
Now, we'll just have to take things as they come. Control what we can, and roll with the punches.
Next thing you're gonna tell me you're listening to Andorian jazz.
No.
The point is, the
wanna
right
hear
time
it.
might never come. So, I'm just gonna roll with it. I had a chance to think about this while I was away. Then you and Millie almost got killed out on the hull. And I thought it was important that I just come out and tell you. Instead of tiptoeing around it. Or worse.
Miranda, is everything all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Maybe even better than fine. What I'm trying to say is, we've been really good friends for a long time. But I got back here and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I want to see if there's more between us than just being friends.
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to explain it. I feel the same way. There is something between us.
So, do you want to find out what that something is? If it's there for you, and it's there for me,
Are you kidding me? I just said yes.
I wanted to be sure I heard that right.
These are uncharted territories.
I'd call it a chemistry experiment. You know, with us.
I'm just really glad that you said something.
I've seen how you operate. I couldn't wait for you to make the first move. I'm glad too.
So whatever happens next is great with me.
Level 1 diagnostic complete.
I have to get back to that to-do list. They're probably looking for me.
Can't blame them.
I'll be seeing you.
Cast adrift.
Approaching the rendezvous point outside Hotari space.
Helm, bring us out of warp.
Dropping to impulse.
Ionic interference surging, Captain.
Uh-oh.
Shield integrity holding.
We can take it.
We are at the correct coordinates to meet the shuttle.
Commander Rydek, find us our diplomat, if you will.
Aye, Captain. Let's reduce the noise. Filter out environmental signals. I can manually tune what's left for Federation signal types. I've located the shuttle.
Opening comms.
On screen.
Shuttle to Resolute. Shuttle to Resolute. Debris field. Lost maneuvering. Losing.
I can't get it any clearer. We won't get a transporter lock. It's just not happening.
Power up the tractor beam. We'll pull them directly into the docking bay.
Diaz, you good to run the tractor emitter?
Yes, sir.
Come on, Diaz. First thing, lock onto the shuttle and stabilize the rotation. We're pulling in debris.
I'm on it.
Deflect the asteroids. No.
That's gonna take out the shuttle. Diaz, the bridge. There's a large piece of debris headed for the shuttle. The tractor beam can't handle it.
Can our shields take it?
I believe so.
Commander Rydek, plot an intercept course.
On it.
Huh?
Here we go. Maneuvering thrusters bearing 53 Mark 17, 200 meters on an intercept course.
Maneuvering.
Go.
Got it.
Whoa! Someone's working hard on the bridge. got the shuttlecraft on board.
Good job. We're on our way down to meet them.
Spock?
Terra firma, so to speak.
Ambassador Spock. The captain will be right down to meet you, sir.
In that case, I will wait for him here.
Apologies for the landing, Ambassador. I was operating the tractor beam, sir. I take responsibility.
It was not the smoothest transit, but you got us here safely. That is what matters. We thought we were prepared for our arrival in Hotari space, but it is evident my craft was not sufficiently robust for such intense ionic activity.
The storm has been pretty intense.
There was an element that was most unusual. Before you came to our aid, our maneuvering thrusters and impulse engines were rendered inoperable. So we attempted a short traversal at warp speed, only to find that we could not achieve warp at all, even though our diagnostics computer showed no faults or anomalies. What do you make of that? When all indications say that warp speed is possible, but in practice, we find it is not.
Well, this storm is one of the strangest phenomena we've ever encountered. It's disrupted other systems. Who knows what it might do to a warp drive?
Yes, it would seem further investigation is called for.
Take readings, run some additional diagnostic checks, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Quite logical, Petty Officer...
Carter Diaz. Sir.
Thank you.
Ambassador Spock.
Excuse me.
I'm honored to have you aboard. I'd like to get right to it. We're already behind.
Provocation to war.
Ambassador
War with
Spock,
what?
my senior staff. It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solano. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past. You're right, Ambassador. Not the most diplomatic choice of words.
You are a legend, Ambassador. There's not an officer in Starfleet that doesn't know of your career.
I would never assume that to be the case.
We were hoping you could fill us in on the details. We got the basics from Starfleet. Two formerly peaceful neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Oh yeah,
Indeed.
those.
And the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour. Lydia and Hotari. The Lydians are the more advanced species. They made first contact with the Hotari over a century ago. This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Lydians have shared a mining operation there. The Lydians provide the technological resources, while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The
Slaves.
stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace, until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Lydians from their system. That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
Have the Illidians retaliated against the Hotari? Or taken any action against them?
Surprisingly, they have not yet responded in kind. They were open to a Federation presence, but it is unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would stand a chance against the Illidian fleet in open war. Left unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly, the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines. And for the Hotari, something is better than nothing.
We can call it profitable or mutually beneficial, but at the end of the day, the Hotari are still being exploited for their own resources.
True peace is not merely the absence of war. And as such, this conflict will surely come again.
Neither the Illidians or the Hotari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
There is an additional complicating factor I should mention. In the past, the Federation has relied on the Illidians as a source of dilithium.
That certainly changes things.
The Federation sources its dilithium from a lot of places.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
So we've already played a part in this.
Unfortunately, that is indeed the case, Commander Rydek.
We're morally obligated to make this right.
Hold on. Our only obligation is to negotiate the peaceful resolution of this conflict.
Given the Federation's involvement in the Illidium dilithium trade, Captain Solano and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels, and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the Ion Storm has done to our ship, and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Illidian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past.
That may answer why the Hotari were able to strike back after so long. They finally had an opportunity, and they took it.
That would also explain the Illidians' restraint.
And reason to learn as much about the energy anomaly as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught at a disadvantage of our own. So I trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
I want to speak to both of you privately.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydek.
Commander, as you are aware, there are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity as representatives of the Federation. But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, for example, would not be bound by those restrictions. Commander Rydek could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
She certainly goes her own way.
I'm perfectly happy to work outside the lines.
And by extension, you will be doing your duty, Commander.
Just not too far outside the lines. Well, I hope Commander Rydek
No, I'm going all the way
finding out
outside.
what really happened than we will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
Ooh. Oh, that scared me. I think they did it on purpose. He seems to be healing.
Mr. Diaz,
Scar.
I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock?
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready. I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
I'm surprised, Commander. I thought you would have wanted to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle yourself.
I respect the Ambassador and his many accomplishments, but I do not derive any satisfaction from interacting with his shuttle as if it were somehow transubstantiated through its association with him. Especially when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself with.
Commander Chovak, is there anything you do enjoy?
I take pleasure in the satisfaction of a job well done. I suggest you try it sometime. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
Was that a joke?
No, couldn't have been. One nice thing about Vulcans, Chovak is the only person who didn't look at this and treat me like I was something to pity.
No. Tuvok did not approve of Jarrah's unwillingness to follow protocol once she defied Captain Sloan's orders. That's it? Oh, wait a minute. Went the wrong one. Did not care for... That's the same thing. Yeah, when asked about working on the best spot... No, it's... What? It's like the same thing.
Doc says I should get used to it. Doesn't mean I want to be reminded of it every minute of the day.
Hey, you won't get pity from me. I think it makes you look tough. As tough as you really are, that is.
And that makes you sound pretty smart. I might need you to save me from myself next time, though. Come on. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Ready to go?
All set. Let's run the diagnostic.
Hey, why is it neutral? Using anger over his going first one. What? Over his going. What do you mean? Her anger. What?
So,
What anger?
I know about your talk with Miranda.
You do?
She sent me a Priority 1 dispatch right after your conversation. I'm happy for you. Both of you.
Thanks.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later, I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms. That just isn't gonna work for me.
Are you upset?
Not on your life, Diaz. But you need to be careful. I like my friends and I like our group. I don't want to lose that. Is that thing done?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see. The relays along the primary EPS are blown. The backup relays are all intact.
An EPS overload from the warp drive could cause that. But how did the shuttle end up dead in the water?
Huh. Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something.
What? I hit it.
Here.
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
There was a complete warp cascade failure.
Wow. They're lucky the shuttle didn't turn inside out.
Makes me think the computer panicked on the warp field equation. The warp field became inverted suddenly.
I've seen this happen when the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a fault code.
Still, we should take a look.
Subspace variance out of tolerance. What does that mean?
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code. Any one of these failures should have thrown a fault.
If it was caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
Yes, ma'am.
So here, they take a moment to get their bearings and they attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
There. That's the relays blowing.
And look, there's another warp system alert.
They're all the same. Subspace variants out of tolerance, or warp inversions. Finally, there's a complete warp cascade failure.
Then it's one of two things. Either a warp coil is cracked, or the navigation array is offline.
That makes sense.
Divide and conquer. You want to check the warp coils or the navigation array? I'll check the other. Let's not overcomplicate
Warp
this.
coils.
One of these systems is likely broken.
I'll check the nacelles for a cracked coil.
Your tricorder can record and analyze data. Looking through it will reveal the unseen. Use 2 to equip or holster your tricorder. Hold the click to scan glowing objects. You must be closest to some objects to scan them. Watch the frame of the screen to see if you're too far away. Oh. Some objects you scan will activate a deep scan. During the T-scan, use Q and E to switch between different scan modes and search for glowing objects. Mode indicates on the indicators in the tricorder will blink if there's an object to find in that mode. When you have scanned all the objects, the frame will change color. Hold right click to analyze the data and finish the scan. Biological. I'm confused. Center coils guide the warp field. Oh. I forgot to right click.
I checked every coil on the port nacelle for imbalances. If any coil in either engine were cracked, I would have detected it. So, it must be the navigation array.
Except it's not. Checked and double-checked.
Well, the readings don't lie.
Here comes the security detail for the way team.
Hey.
I'm not here.
We're escorting the negotiating team to the surface as soon as they come down from the bridge. I don't want to interrupt some important work. I was just hoping to see you before I go. The captain and the others will be here any minute now. Should be an interesting ride down to the surface.
Come on, I'm never too busy to make time for you.
That's not true.
No. But I am glad you came by.
No, that's more accurate.
I gotta be precise with you, huh?
Hey, Maris. Aren't these those button pushers you're always hanging out with?
And you're the phaser jockeys we always beat in Parisi squares, right?
All aboard for Hotari.
That another one of the captain's railroad things?
Gotta be. I just usually zone out by the time he gets to the whole, steam engines were the warp drives of their day part. Catch y'all later.
I mean, kinda.
You don't want to miss your train.
They went pretty fast.
I do have to go. Not gonna lie, I'd rather not leave right now. That was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Save some of that for when I get back.
You got a deal.
Be seeing you.
Etzelarda Diaz. If you could float back down to reality, we still have a ways to go. All right, where were we?
So, the warp coils in the navigation array are fine, but the nav computer doesn't seem to think so.
I'm out of ideas short of field stripping the shuttle from bow to stern.
You wanna take this out of the shuttle and throw it on the bench?
Oh, real hands-on maintenance. I like it. Okay, the nav computer is patched into the ship.
The ship's computer can double-check our work. If the shuttle's nav computer is putting out false data, we'll know it.
Let's run through the shuttle's logs again.
Running now. Same. Warp field inversion and a cascade failure. However, the Resolute computer doesn't show the same subspace variance.
We're in the same conditions that the shuttle was in when it failed. Why wouldn't the ship's computer get a matching result?
What if the subspace variance was a momentary occurrence?
That's a possibility, and it would explain why the simulation under our current sensor readings failed to reproduce the issue.
But a subspace anomaly strong enough to cause a warp field collapse would leave graviton ripples for days.
Let's run with the momentary subspace variance theory for now. Roll forward to the shuttle's attempt to re-engage the warp drive. We need the conditions of space around the shuttle at the moment of warp failure.
Resuming simulation.
Error in warp field calculation. Cochrane formula variables are out of range.
That right there. Take the shuttle sensor data from that moment.
Computer, why did the warp field calculation fail?
Warp field pressure returned non-orthogonal. Results are undefined.
That doesn't help.
Wait, what if we use a different ship?
Put the Resolute into the simulation instead of the shuttle.
Yeah, it should warp just fine. Unless... Computer, run the simulation with the Resolute.
Resolute simulated.
Computer, give me manual control on the warp power.
Static field intensity, warp 1.1. 1.2. 3. Warp pressure is destabilizing. Error in warp field calculation. The warp drive has experienced a system-wide cascade failure. Warp field collapse. Subspace variance is out of tolerance. Cochrane formula results are undefined.
Bingo.
What-o?
The same
Bingo was his
the shuttle
name-o.
failed to warp, so did the ship. Whatever happened to the shuttle just happened to us. The Resolute will not sustain warp.
We can't leave Hotari space.
That's not good. Seat of power.
Ambassador Spock, Captain Solano, welcome to Hotari. We are honored you have come. My name is Tyler Altaris, Minister of Diplomatic Affairs.
The honor is ours. And this is Commander Jara Rydick, first officer aboard the USS Resolute. You'll find she has a keen mind. and unique insight into the dynamics between the Hotari and the Illidians.
It's very nice to meet you.
Likewise. I hope...
These must be the representatives of the mighty Federation. The reigning authority in the galaxy. Or so we've been led to believe. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But, either way, we're grateful you've made the time to come to our little corner of the universe.
And you are?
This is Galvin, and this is Citron, the heroes of the revolt in the mines.
Let's hope this is the last time we ever have to come here.
If you'll excuse me.
I think we're about to begin.
Did you hear the arrogance from that guy? I don't know what we're walking into here. But that guy was something.
He certainly seems full of himself. No missing that. You could probably see it from orbit.
What a piece of work.
Remember, we are here at their invitation. We must remain deferential whenever possible.
Of course, but even that has its limits.
I don't know.
Ambassador Spock, welcome to Hotari Prime.
The honor is mine, Your Majesty.
That the Federation would send one of their most respected representatives is not only an honor to the Hotari people and their queen, but a recognition of our stature and importance.
Let's get on with it, shall we? With all due respect to the Federation,
Why do you have a
and their
queen?
ambassador, they have no authority here. We are not members of their alliance. We are not subject to their rule, nor yours. We demand the immediate return of all mining operations to Illidian control, as it has been for centuries and will be for centuries more. That has always been our understanding.
That understanding has changed.
Then you invite war!
And if you cannot remain silent, you will be silenced. But his point is well taken. What is the Federation's interest in this matter? Perhaps you would have us trade one oppressor for another?
The Federation remains neutral. Our only interest is the peaceful resolution of this conflict. We are here at your request, Your Majesty.
For now.
I get the sense she's cut from the same cloth as Galvin. I thought they wanted us here.
Was there something you wanted to say, Captain?
Oh, no. My apologies.
And what about the Kobliad?
She's not
She
part
can
of...
speak for herself, can't she? Then let her.
Why am I walking up there?
Now then, what is your name?
Commander Jara Rydek, Your Majesty.
Being a Kobliad, you would know better than anyone. Your people suffered brutal treatment at the hands of the Cardassians. Their injustice towards the Kobliad is as unimaginable as it is unforgivable. Not unlike how we have been treated by the Illidians.
As much as they'd have you believe they are the victims here, remember it was the Hotari who attacked us.
Hundreds of innocent Illyrians were slaughtered without mercy in those mines.
The blood is on their hands, not ours.
Quiet! If after all the Kobliad suffered, you finally had the chance to right that wrong, to get out from under their control, would you take it?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you negotiate a peace?
If the opportunity presented itself, and I wish that it had, more than you can know, then I would right the wrong without hesitation. For the sake of the Kobliad, we suffered enough.
Of course you would. It would be foolish to do otherwise. The Federation is the most powerful, most advanced alliance in the galaxy. It's widely known we have an abundance of dilithium in our mines. And it's in your interest to secure a steady supply.
Your Majesty, if I may.
Ambassador Spock would have us believe you're here as a neutral party in the interest of peace. So why are you really here? I want the truth, not your Federation rhetoric.
It's possible the Federation has an interest in both peace and securing a steady source of dilithium. One does not preclude or prevent the other. But that's just my personal opinion.
Given the Federation has done business with the Illyrians for decades, I would agree. It's entirely possible, if not highly likely.
What they haven't said, but cannot deny, is a simple truth. The dilithium trade would not and will no longer exist without Illyrian involvement. We created it for the benefit of everyone, especially the Hotari. We've given them warp technology. We've let them share in the profits. We've made their lives infinitely better than before dilithium was discovered. All of that goes away if the Federation turns a blind eye to their treachery.
That is enough of your lies! The Hotari are quite capable of running the mines. We've done so for centuries. So tell me, who deserves control of the dilithium trade and the mines on Tau? Who should the Federation recognize? The Hotari or the Illyrians? Can only be one or the other, not both.
If I have to choose only one, then it would have to be the Hotari.
Well said. How could the just and wise Federation make any other choice?
This is an outrage. The Federation has lost all credibility.
The mines are ours. Lydia will not be deterred. We will take back our mines by any means necessary.
And you will see more blood spilled.
I am more than willing to address your concerns, Your Majesty. Yours as well, Representative. But I suggest we could have a more productive conversation with a smaller group. Perhaps only the most essential representatives.
I suppose there is some sense to that. I hope we meet again, Jara Ryder.
Spock and I will cover everything on the diplomatic front. You make nice with the locals and see if you can get some answers. We need to find out why the Hotari are so willing to risk war. What happened in those mines?
What you? No, you don't want to talk.
soothing.
Commander, I'm glad you've chosen to side with the Hotari. I knew the Federation would see through the Elydians' baseless claims and protect the interests of my people.
The Hotari have suffered enough at the hands of the Elydians.
I couldn't agree more.
I assume you were there the day the mines were seized from the Elydians.
Not seized. Reclaimed. And restored to their rightful owners. Yes, I was there. We had to be decisive. Before the Elydians could even realize their worst nightmares upon them.
Did you have help from someone else?
Hotari stands alone against the Elydian forces. We don't need help from anyone. They respect one thing above all else, and that is force. The greater the force, the more certain the outcome. Any talk of making peace is just that, and worth little without the strength to secure it. Which makes me wonder about your ship, the Resolute. Undoubtedly the Federation's finest warship. Ready to contend with anything the Elydians might have in store. Or is that not true? Maybe I've misjudged it.
I wasn't paying attention. What'd you say?
It wasn't designed as a warship. More for scientific research and exploration.
But the Federation must have ships designed for war.
Technically, they're Starfleet ships representing the Federation. But yes.
I see.
Sidron.
A pleasure meeting you, Commander. I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
No.
Commander Rydek, I'm encouraged to see the Federation supporting my people. I'm afraid of what might happen without your help.
I'm glad to hear it. I just hope you're not the only one who feels that way.
I apologize for that. These are unusual times, to say the least. Much is changing. I saw you speaking with Sidron, our national hero. I'm curious, what did he say?
He seems to be of the opinion that negotiating for peace is a waste of time.
Because force is the only blunt instrument he understands. He's a miner, not a diplomat. For the first time in our history, the Hotari have the upper hand. We see ourselves as strong instead of downtrodden. New voices have risen up. Old voices shouted down. Galvin and Sidron have become national heroes. Now, they have the Queen's ear. Better or worse, depending on your perspective.
I get the sense you don't exactly trust them.
I don't trust their instincts, which are leading us to war. My fear has been that the Elydians will launch an attack and crush us. You've seen their starship, no doubt. They could have retaken the mines whenever they wanted to, but it never happened. And as strange as this may sound, I'd almost say they're afraid. I just don't know what they're afraid of. It's still the same bluster and bravado you would expect from them.
Do you think it has something to do with the ion storm? Right now, it's stronger than ever, isn't it?
It's entirely possible. I'm not a scientist, but I do know the storm has knocked out all kinds of systems. So maybe the Elydians weren't willing to risk their ships, given all the interference.
This was not helpful.
Since the day of the revolt, Galvin has seized control of the mines and restricted all access. No one's allowed without his personal authorization. And they've taken over a section of the palace with just as much secrecy and security. I'm told it could be something they brought back from the mines. I've made inquiries, but everyone pretends it doesn't exist.
What do you think it is?
I've heard rumors it's some sort of ancient artifact, but I haven't seen it myself.
I found something there.
I'd better see what's happening.
Do you think you can find out what they're hiding? I need to see proof of something before I can make my case to the Federation.
I can try, but even if I found it, I might not know what to make of it.
Take this. You can use it to capture whatever you find, and then send it to me.
Thank you. I will let you know what I find. And I look forward to our meeting again.
Sorry, I couldn't help but notice you were speaking with the Hotari this whole time. I figured in the interest of fairness, I should offer another perspective.
Of course.
I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but these negotiations rely on the Federation's neutrality, as does any hope you might have for a supply of dilithium in the future. So, why you would choose to side with the Hotari escapes me. Without Lydian involvement, there is no dilithium trade. But clearly, you weren't aware.
Tau and the mines belong to the Hotari. They deserve to have control.
You overestimate their ability to run the mining operation. They have no idea what they're doing. Major Salit Arminta, Special Attaché, Lydian Armed Forces. Pleasure to meet you, Commander.
Why didn't you say that at the beginning?
I have my issues with the Hotari, but I have to give them some credit. They know how to seize an opportunity. Inciting an uprising the same day as a massive, once-in-a-lifetime ion storm.
Our assumption was that this storm was just an anomaly.
Maybe that has to do with the...
Yes, a very convenient anomaly. At least that was what we were told. Of course, I wasn't there. But who am I to say otherwise?
You sound skeptical.
Well, the official story is that it was the storm that enabled the revolt.
Revolt
How
caused
else
the
do a bunch
storm.
of unarmed, unorganized miners seize control of an entire moon, much less thousands of mines? But I've talked to people who were there. They tell a different story. They say they're lucky to have escaped with their lives. That it was more than just the storm. That somehow the miners were able to harness the energy from the storm. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not even sure I believe it myself. But that's what they said.
You said the Hotari were primitive.
Well, they are.
Except for the part about weaponizing ion storms.
If you'll excuse me, Commander Ryder.
Where is the captain? Is it this way? Am I going this way?
Well, that was a disaster.
What happened?
The Hotari refused to concede anything, so the Elydians stormed out.
The Hotari did not invite us here as peacekeepers. I hope your efforts were more fruitful than ours.
Gravitational harmonics failing to resolve. Warp bubble stability degrading. Increase output to maximum.
Increasing warp output to maximum.
It's happening again.
Warp failed.
It is evident that presently, the Resolute cannot achieve warp propulsion.
Since our diagnostics rule out any problems with our warp systems or anything about the ship, the problem appears to be the fabric of space itself.
Space itself? You're saying something about this region of space prevents warp travel?
Prevents it, or can't sustain it.
However improbable, that appears to be the case.
The storm didn't stop us from leaving space dock and traveling here. But could it still be causing this interference with warp travel?
We must follow sound investigatory principles. Do not let an assumed conclusion drive your analysis.
Sometimes we need a little inspired thinking, Mr. Chovak. Captain Solano is on his way back from the negotiations, and I want to have some answers for him when he gets here.
Indeed. Given the facts at hand, we may be able to deploy subspace probes around the ship to construct a clear picture of the phenomenon.
Around the ship. I'll prep a shuttle.
And we're gonna end this episode here. Thanks for watching. Bye.